Is Las Vegas worth visiting for a coaster enthusiast? To answer that question, I'll be taking a look at all the different tourist attractions and thrill rides located on the Vegas Strip to figure out, is Las Vegas worth visiting for any coaster enthusiast? Let's get started. So starting off with the Stratosphere Hotel, this place is home to the most extreme rides on the Vegas Strip with Big Shot and X Scream. Now, Big Shot is your standard S&S combo tower located basically over 1,000 feet in the air, so that's the main reason why that one could be considered scary. But because it's just your standard S&S combo tower, it's really not all that bad. Now, X Scream, on the other hand, I probably wouldn't even do that today if I went back to Las Vegas and the Stratosphere. That thing is just terrifying. And the funny part is, if you placed X Scream on flat ground, it would not be terrifying at all. But just because it looks like you're about to freaking fall off a building over 1,000 feet in the air, that just would be absolutely terrifying, and that's the reason I didn't do it when I visited Las Vegas. But to be fair, these rides are actually surprisingly affordable at only 15 bucks for unlimited rides. These rides, I definitely recommend giving them a try just because they're quite cheap. And then moving on to the other major attraction at the Stratosphere is the Sky Jump. Now, with this, it's basically in the name. You just literally bungee jump off of the Stratosphere. And that has to be the scariest attraction I've ever seen in my life. I probably would never do this. I mean, it's completely safe, but like jumping off a 900-foot tall building, that'd be just terrifying. And to be honest, it's definitely not worth it because like the cheapest option is 150 bucks per person. And that gets even more expensive if you want to record your jump or have a photo of your jump, which if you want those two options, it can quickly get up to around 175 to 200 bucks depending on the day. So in my opinion, the Sky Jump is definitely not worth it, but the other two attractions, Big Shot and X Scream, are totally worth it in my opinion for 15 bucks. So moving on to the New York Hotel and Casino, they're home to the Big Apple Coaster, which is easily the most impressive ride on the strip, as the Big Apple Coaster is over 200 feet tall and reaches speeds of over 60 miles per hour. It also features over 4,000 feet of track, so it's a very long ride, and it features two inversions, but it's also not the smoothest ride. Now, I never rode the Big Apple Coaster when I went to Vegas because I went in 2017 and it still had the terrible horse collar restraints and lap bars, but now it is apparently much better because now it has the Premier Rides comfort collar restraints, which by no means are good trains, but at least it's a much better improvement from what I heard, because even though the transitions are still very jerky, at least you're only getting neck chopping and not actual headbanging. So it is apparently a bit smoother of a ride now. But for 25 bucks, I'm sorry, that is not worth it. I mean, I know it's Vegas because it's like a big tourism town. Of course, everything's going to be expensive, but 25 bucks just for one ride on the Big Apple Coaster is just insane to me. Especially since like there are full-on amusement parks that you can get tickets for around 25, 30 bucks or less. And for that, the Big Apple Coaster is just not worth it because of the price alone. And plus, it's not even a good ride anyway. It has a really janky layout, and other than the two inversions, it looks to be a very boring ride. So honestly, I say just skip the Big Apple Coaster. So moving on to, in my opinion, the best attraction on the Las Vegas Strip, and that's the Adventuredome at the Circus Circus Hotel. Now, the reason this place is so good is because it's a full-fledged amusement park that's fully indoors, and they also have some good rides too. So for the main coasters, you have two of them: El Loco, which is an SNES El Loco, which features a beyond vertical drop and two hang time filled inversions. And these two hang time moments are seriously two of the best in the country, as El Loco has, in my opinion, El Loco's hang time is only rivaled by Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. And then moving on to their other main coaster, that being Canyon Blaster. Now, this is an older aero looping coaster, and from what I've heard online, a lot of people seem to like this thing. I found it to be one of the worst coasters I've ever ridden, but when I rode this, I was only 11, and I was pretty small and didn't clear the over-the-shoulder restraints. So if I went back now, I'd probably enjoy it a lot more just because I know how to ride these kind of rides now, and plus my head clears the top of the over-the-shoulder restraint, which would make the ride way more comfortable. Plus, on top of these two good coasters, you have a variety of different flat rides for both families and thrill seekers, and you have a few 4D dark rides. These dark rides aren't really anything special, but for an indoor park to have multiple different dark rides is definitely surprising and a nice addition. And now moving on to ticketing options, you have two different wristbands, an adult wristband which is for anyone over 48 inches tall, and that retails for $50. And then you have a children's wristband which is for anyone under 48 inches tall, and that retails for $30. Now in my opinion, the wristbands aren't really worth it just because the Adventuredome isn't worth $50 in my opinion. There's so many other parks that you can get that are much better for $50. And the only time I would recommend the wristband is for families, especially with younger kids, because they have a good amount to do at the Adventuredome. Now, in my opinion, the way most people should go, especially a coaster enthusiast, is just pay per ride. Now, I don't know the exact ticket prices, but I believe they're fairly affordable. And as for coaster enthusiasts, you'd probably only want to do Canyon Blaster and El Loco anyway. So honestly, just pay for like two rides on each of them and you'll be perfectly fine. That's what I did, and I was perfectly satisfied at the Adventuredome.